Hello, very good evening. Welcome to our every Friday DAREACT chat series powered by the Grey Matter. Our guest joining today is Rohan Bilimoria. He is the founder of Law Ninjas, which is a global platform for law students and lawyers. Rohan comes with a decade-long experience working as a legal professional with leading law firms and Fortune 500 companies across multiple jurisdictions. Apart from the lawyering, he's extremely passionate about mentoring law students, and you will often find him conducting workshops for various law schools in India and abroad. So let's invite Rohan. Um, Hi Rohan, can you try sending me a request? I'm unable to do one. Technology. Uh, let's see if it works. Rohan, I've sent you a request.
Hi, Shreya.
Hello, welcome to your first Instagram Live. We made
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. I tried to do it on my laptop, but it wasn't working. So I've now switched to my phone. So hope that's
Yeah, it
okay.
does not work on desktop. It works only on phone. I'm sorry I forgot to
Oh,
mention.
okay. No worries. No worries. No, that's fine. So yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm quite excited.
And thank you for joining all the way from Sydney. May I ask what time is it there?
It is 9:30 p.m. So it's just past dinner time. No, but we're in lockdown here in Sydney. So that's why you can see I've got a really long beard because I haven't been able to visit my barber in a very long time. We're in lockdown, and so it doesn't matter what time of day it is. It all feels the same.
But nonetheless, I promise I won't keep you here for too long, and you will
No
be in your
worries.
bed. Yeah, we'll
No
make
worries.
sure that it's on time. Okay, so Rohan, excited to have you. And my first question to you is that you were born in Delhi and then later moved to Australia with family at what 14. As a teenager, how was it for you when it came to embracing a different country and culture altogether?
Yeah, so I grew up in Delhi, as you said. I went to St. Columbus School, which is also the school that Shah Rukh Khan went to, which is my only claim to fame in life. And then my family and we decided to move to Sydney when I was 14 and my brother was 3. And so the idea behind the move was better opportunities and more opportunities for my brother and I. And it was a huge culture shock, I think, for all of us, because none of us had ever been to Australia before. My dad had been here for 4 days to sort of suss it out, check it out, see if it was, a good place to come. And he came to Sydney for 4 days, fell in love with the place. We submitted our immigration papers or, the application. And, how at least how it worked back then was that you would submit your papers and you'd maybe hear back in a year or so if you had been successful. We submitted our papers and we got like a yes from the government within 3 months, I think. So it was super quick. And when we moved, yeah, it was a big change. I was going from an all boys school in Delhi to a co ed school near the beach in Sydney. So I was very happy.
Near the beach.
And I was also very happy that I had just finished class 9 in India. And so I was very happy that I didn't have to do my board exams, which I know, I'd heard very bad things about. So yeah, no, it was a big change. And I think, for anyone who's looking to move overseas, whether it's for studies or for career, um, it's a big move, but it's something that, you can only experience yourself, and you have to do it, I think, at least once, because it is a big growth journey that you go through. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Good to know it was a growth journey, and good to know it was indeed rewarding for you. Tell us, why did you become a lawyer?
So both my parents were lawyers. My dad was an in-house lawyer for Nestle and PepsiCo for many, many years. My mom was also a lawyer, but she stopped practicing when I was born, so quite a long time ago. I wouldn't say how long ago. But yeah, I kind of grew up looking up to them and what they did, but also kind of, watching a lot of TV shows like Boston Legal, The Practice. Suits came a lot later, so and then I started watching, reading a lot of Perry Mason books. If any of you know what Perry Mason books are about, they're kind of like legal thrillers, I guess. John Grisham as well. And then yeah, just I think at high school in Sydney, we had a subject, part of our curriculum, which was an elective called legal studies, where I did that, and I thought that was really cool, and I learned a lot about criminal law and things like that. So it was really, really interesting. And so I fell into it. My first job in a legal capacity was at a law firm in Sydney, and I was sort of a paralegal. So I was working a couple of days a week during university there. And it's not the most glamorous work when you're an intern or a paralegal, but it gives you a good taste of what it's like, and it allows you to see people around you. So I think the key, if you're trying to figure out whether to be a lawyer or what kind of law to do, is to meet as many people as you can, speak to as many people as you can, and just really absorb as much as you can from the environment around you. And that's the only way you can figure out for yourself if the law is for you, and if a particular practice area of the law is for you.
Very. Um, yeah, there was some. Yeah, there was some
Sorry, I've
background
got a
noise.
whole kitchen going on behind me. So yeah, I told you, lockdown. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that by end of your college, you were pretty clear that you wanted to be a corporate M&A lawyer. Tell us, how did you ended up doing banking and project finance?
So yeah, so I always wanted to be a corporate and M&A lawyer. I think during university, I did a few things at uni, because you have your sort of core subjects, and then you get your electives. At least in Sydney, you can pick quite a few electives. And so all my electives actually I picked were all international law subjects. So international humanitarian law, human rights, international criminal law, maybe as well. I can't even remember. I wanted to go overseas. I mean, I wanted to be an international lawyer, as I thought what that word term meant. But I also wanted to do corporate and M&A, because in Australia, you have to do law with something else, similar to India and other places. So I did a finance degree and a law degree at the same time, which was a 5-year journey. And so with that sort of finance-y, corporate-y background, I thought, corporate law, plus also because, when you read the newspapers or when you watch Suits and TV shows and things like that, Harvey Specter in Suits is not talking about loan agreements, right? He's talking about mergers, he's talking about acquisitions. Those are the sexy things. And so I kind of said, okay, that's what I want to do. But then my first job after university was at a law firm called Linklaters in London. And in the UK, those firms there, they typically offer what they call a 2-year training contract. So you get to experience 4 seats, so 4 rotations of 6 months each. And so when I went to London, or before I went to London, I had kind of sort of in my head, I had said, corporate and M&A is the way to go. But my first seat was actually, they put me in the banking and finance team. And the reason for that primarily was because I had started my training contract and I'd moved to London in September 2008. So for anyone who's listening in, if you don't remember what happened in September 2008, it was the global financial crisis, or the GFC as the cool kids call it. No relation to KFC, unfortunately. And so, the firm needed lawyers in that kind of restructuring, insolvency, banking, finance space. So I did 6 months with the banking team, and that was really interesting because I had no clue what it was before I went into it. But then still, I think at the back of my mind, I still wanted to do corporate and M&A. And so my second seat was in corporate and M&A. So I thought, this is the thing. This is going to be what I wanted to do. I'm so excited. Yeah, within the first maybe month of that 6 months secondment or seat, I learned or I figured out for myself that it's not really what I wanted to do. I personal preference. I'm not saying corporate M&A is a bad area of law. I know a lot of M&A lawyers who are very successful and very happy. But for me, I personally just wanted to do something which is slightly more tangible, where I could see and touch and feel whatever I had worked on, whatever I'd built. And so, which is kind of what took me into the world of project finance. Project finance essentially is where you're working on big projects, whether it's power plants or roads, infrastructure, all those things that you can see around you. And yeah, so that's kind of where I went after that.
So the rotation thing kind of worked for you, and it's great in a way that you started with banking and project finance, so it kind of helped you reevaluate, your choices in terms of practice area. Very nice. So you've spent, 5 years in Linklaters, then over 3.5 years in Mayer Brown. Clearly, a lot of law firm experience. Tell us, what have been your biggest learnings or revelations, for that matter?
Yeah, I think, as you said, those seats at the firm, they really helped me understand what was out there, what being a lawyer is all about. It taught me about people, because at the end of the day, we're working with people, at least within our teams, and also our clients are humans as well, right? And so it teaches you a lot about building relationships. It teaches you a lot about not only other people, but yourself and what you're like. Because, I think the seats, the whatever, the rotations, you may think that you know what it is like to be a lawyer or a corporate lawyer or a banking lawyer. But then when you actually go into a work environment in a law firm, working day to day with people around you, doing photocopying, doing proofreading, you get to see what it's actually like to be a lawyer. And sometimes it may not be as glamorous or exactly what you sort of thought it was going to be. So yeah, I think the key learnings for me, I mean, I've spent some time at Linklaters, as you said, and also at a US firm called Mayer Brown. And I've worked in London, Moscow, Tokyo, Singapore, with those two firms. And you just learn about people and yourself, like, so many different cultures as well that I've sort of encountered. And everybody works in different ways. A Russian lawyer is very different to a British lawyer, is very different to an Indian lawyer, an Australian lawyer, very different to a Japanese lawyer. So yeah, you just learn about things, and that's the only way you should learn. I mean, you should learn by doing and by really stepping outside your comfort zone. A lot of people say to me, they're like, why didn't you just work at an Australian firm after university? You could be a partner right now. Like, you could be a senior partner because you would have, built a strong foundation. All your clients would be here in Sydney, and you would be making quite a lot of money. That's true. Probably that is very true. However, I wouldn't have had all the experiences I've had, and I would not take anything that I've done back. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. It's been tough moving countries all the time. It's been tough sort of trying to figure out new languages. My Russian's terrible, so please don't quiz me on that. But it's been really, really good. And look, you come back from all these experiences, and for anyone who's looking to go overseas or study overseas or go for a foreign exchange program, I would say don't hesitate, just do it. At the end of life, and I'm speaking as if some wise old man, but at the end of life, you're going to regret the stuff that you didn't do rather than the stuff that you did do. So take chances, roll the dice. That's all I got to say.
Very beautifully put. But I'm a little more intrigued. Why don't you tell us, share with us a few anecdotes around the fact, that you. Rohan, am I audible?
Hi, Shreya. Did I lose you? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was my network. I'm so sorry.
No
I
worries.
was
No
saying,
worries.
Whatever you shared just now seems extremely intriguing. Why don't you share a few anecdotes with us? You mentioned about working in different jurisdictions. If there are any funny experiences that you've had, embarrassing experiences for that matter, if you've had, we'd love to hear a few.
Yeah, no, I've had some pretty shocking experiences in terms of, working long hours or tough bosses or tough clients. We've all been through all of that. But I think it's not a funny story, but I think it's quite an interesting story, if I may share. It's about, again, the sort of theme that I spoke about earlier, which is building relationships. So, I had just moved to a law firm called Mayer Brown in their Singapore office, and I was tasked with the sort of great opportunity of setting up or helping set up the Asian project finance practice. And so it was a legal role, but it was also, I guess, kind of like a business development role because a new law firm, you don't have any clients, so you have to kind of bring in the work and bring in the deals. And for me, as you can probably tell, I love talking. So it was the perfect kind of role for me. And so anyway, so it was probably my first month or first couple of months at the firm. And when you're in that kind of position, you're meant to go to conferences, you're meant to go to these seminars, network, as they call it, because otherwise, how do you win deals and clients, right? So I went to this conference. It was a project finance conference in Singapore. Incredibly boring session was going on. I was sitting in this hotel conference room, and I was about to fall off to sleep. So I said, let me just go outside, where they put out the coffee and the snacks, and I'll just get some fresh air, get some coffee in me. So I was outside there. Nobody else was there, but there was this one gentleman who was standing just by the window, looking out into the distance, looking as bored as I was. And he looked like he was maybe from Japan or somewhere like that. So I went up to him and I just, introduced myself and I said, how you doing? And we kind of just exchanged, sort of introductions. And he told me he was from Japan and he was a project finance banker. And yeah, we just got talking about travel and his favorite Japanese restaurant in Singapore. So food, which is a passion of mine, and his family and all these things. Nothing about work, nothing about, give me your deal or make me your lawyer or anything like that. Anyway, we exchanged business cards, went our separate ways. And then 2 days later, I was in front of my computer and I thought I'd send him an email and I'd just say, hi, it was nice to meet you, as normal people should be doing. We should be keeping in touch with each other in a friendly way. And I said, you told me that Aoki in Singapore was your favorite Japanese restaurant. Why don't we go there next week? I'd love to take you there. And he was super happy because it was his favorite restaurant. And he said, sure. So I took him to his restaurant, went for lunch, again, talked nothing about work, just spoke about life and what it's like to work in Tokyo, which I had done previously, so we had something in common there. And again, nothing about work, but just at the end of that lunch, I kind of mentioned, look, this is what I do. I'm a project finance lawyer. I do power projects, my team, this is what we do. And he just kind of said, okay, thanks, see you later. Literally at the end of that week, so maybe 3 days after that lunch, he sends me an email copying my two partners, so my two bosses, saying, hi, Rohan, it was nice to meet you. We'd like you to pitch for these two deals that we're working on in Thailand and Cambodia. Could you please send us your credentials and your fee quote? And, there's other law firms also sort of vying for these roles. So no promises, but, we'd love to sort of hear from you guys. My team, we were a bit taken aback because we hadn't got anything like that before. We were all just, a bit shocked. So we spent the next couple of days preparing these documents. And for anyone who's listening in who's never done this before, when you pitch for a deal, you're meant to sort of send them, it's basically like your CV. What are the things you've done? What are the deals you've worked on? How much you're going to charge? What your assumptions are? What your scope of work you think is going to be? How you want to structure the deal? All these things. So it's a pretty involved document. It's not something you can just churn out generically and send to everybody. So we sent that document, and yes, we got appointed on those two deals, and we made quite a bit of money on those two deals. So the moral of the story is sometimes you can't go into, and not sometimes, actually all the time, you can't go into these sort of networking events saying to yourself that I should be networking. What you should be going into it is saying, I just want to get to know people. I just want to be able to see what's out there. And when you're speaking to somebody, you need to figure out a way that obviously you need to connect with them on whatever it is, but also you need to ascertain how you can add value to their life or their career or their job or their deal that they're working on. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, right? We're, as lawyers, we're here to add value. And so I would say, create friendships, build relationships rather than focusing too much on this networking concept. That's what I feel quite strongly about.
And I'm so glad, you picked this story because it will resonate so much with the lawyers, because we've seen in conferences, they kind of become awkward because it's kind of embedded in them that, networking means you have to go sell yourself, like just make a pitch there and then. But that's not the aim, that's not the agenda. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rohan. So post Mayor Brown, you moved to an in-house role with Yum Brands, where your scope was not just limited to legal, you also got to explore operations and marketing. Very, very interesting. My first question is, A, what led you to make that switch? Second, it'll be great if you could share your experience as a legal professional moving in-house for the first time. How was it, in terms of work? Was it any different from the work style at law firms? What more did you learn about yourself? We'd be really excited if you could share some information.
Thanks, Shreya. That's a pretty heavy question. There's two parts to that question. So first thing is, yeah. So I actually wanted to be an in-house lawyer pretty much since the beginning of my career. Again, because my dad was an in-house lawyer, I'd seen people around him and his friends and colleagues and classmates doing in-house legal positions, and I thought that's what I want to do because I wanted to be closer to the business. I wanted to be working on, the commercial side of things. And at law firms, yes, you get some fantastic experience and training, and you get to work on, cutting edge deals, especially if you work at a very, very good law firm or an international law firm. But you don't see the genesis or how that deal actually came about. You don't see what happens after the documents are signed. And so I kind of wanted to be more integrated into the decision-making process and everything. So, which kind of took me into this world of in-house law. My first role, as you said, was at a company called Yum Brands, which is the parent company of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. So I hope you like your fast food. If you don't, nobody's perfect. And so I moved in, and I, again, had no idea what it was going to involve, but I kind of learned on the job. And it's not, it's not rocket science. Like nothing that we do is rocket science really, but it is a lot. In-house roles are all about, as I said, building relationships, because when you're at a law firm, your clients are external parties like companies or individuals that you're advising. But in an in-house role, your clients are your marketing team, your finance team, your operations team, who's sitting right next to you, and they're your friends as well as your colleagues as well as your clients. It's a bit of a weird mix. But yeah, I think being in an in-house role, it teaches you that you can't just be thinking with your legal hat on, saying, oh, this is illegal or this is risky, you shouldn't do this. And rather than being a business blocker or being the person who says no, which is how lawyers are typically perceived by non-lawyers, you need to figure out a way that you can be a business enabler, yet keeping obviously the business in check to make sure that they're not doing anything too crazy or too naughty, so that you kind of play by the rules, but you have to work with them and sort of do that. So anyway, so I did that. I was a lawyer in the Yum team, working on fast food and fried chicken issues, and then I realized that I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to be CEO, right? Speaking very honestly here, I wanted to be CEO. And so I said to my HR team, where, I said, I'd like to kind of work towards that. And they clearly said to me that, look, you can't go straight from legal to being CEO, right? It doesn't work that way. Sometimes I have heard of lawyers who've done that, but typically they do something like business development or sales or something. And so I said, okay, I'm really interested in marketing because, as you've probably seen with Law Ninjas, I like to be a bit creative. I like to push things a little bit further than I probably should push them. And so marketing kind of was a nice fit for me. But they all said to me, a lawyer has never done marketing in the history of this company. So yeah, maybe you should go into like business development because, lawyers, that might be an easier fit. I said, nah, I want to do marketing. So thankfully, I mean, all credit to them. They gave me the opportunity in the marketing team, and I did that for about, I want to say, a year. And then on top of that, then they needed somebody in the operations team. So I did two jobs at the same time for a little while. I think, again, if you get the opportunity to experience sitting or standing in the shoes of your client or even somebody else other than being just the lawyer, take it with both hands. It's an invaluable opportunity, and it will teach you what your clients actually want from you. Because as a lawyer, right, as a legal counsel, I thought, oh yeah, I have to churn out these very detailed legal research memos, or I have to give them, the legal answer with case law citations and everything. And then when you go to the dark side, the business side, whether it's marketing, operations, or development, or whatever, you realize when you're then trying to get legal advice from your legal team, you realize that you don't want that 20-page memo. You just want to have a frank and honest conversation with them, for them to tell you, okay, these are the risks, these are the pros, these are the cons, these are the things you kind of need to be mindful of. But let's do this. Like, let's, make this happen. So you kind of figure out, okay, I need to understand my clients a bit better. I need to understand what they want from me. Is it an email? Is it a phone call? Is it a memo? You have to. I think the three key things I would say in order to be a successful lawyer, whether it's in-house or in private practice, is you need to be adaptive, if that's a word. You need to be able to adapt to different clients, different situations. You need to be, attentive. So when I say attentive, I mean you need to kind of be responsive to their emails. You need to make sure that you're listening to them when they're asking for things. And I think listening is sort of the key word there. And then you just need to make sure that you're always working hard. I'm still coming up with a word that begins with A to say, working hard. But I think, diligent, hardworking, these are the things that your clients want from you and that they need from you. And so these are the sort of key things that I would say I've learned during my in-house journey so far.
So, since you've seen both sides of the table, and of course, you have that clarity of what is it that, as lawyers, we can bring to the table, which can be the X factor and, kind of building that relationship, taking it to the next level. If I was to ask, where is the mismatch that happens very often between law firms and in-house teams? Since you've seen both sides, I thought, why not get your views on. There's often a mismatch. Would you call it miscommunication or lack of proactivity from the law firm's end to not, pick up the call and kind of ask again and clarify, okay, hey, is this what you're asking? Where is it that you see the mismatch happen the most?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. It's communication, which I think you alluded to, making sure that you're always speaking to your client, making sure that you're, like I said, adapting to whatever their needs are. Because actually, interestingly, a client may ask you to do something on Monday, and you'll say, okay, yes, I'll get on it. And firstly, you may not give them a timeline, which is something, clients don't like. You need to be able to give them a bit of certainty. I'll get it to you by Wednesday, or I'll get it to you by, Thursday. And then always when you're taking instructions, and this is not just from clients, but also if you're taking instructions from your boss or a partner at your law firm, make sure that you're always clarifying what they need from you and when they need it by and how they want it. Whether it's, like I said, an email or bullet points or a paragraph or whatever. So I don't know if there's a mismatch between law firms and in-house lawyers, but definitely I think you need to be, like I said, responsive, and you need to sort of, put yourself in the shoes of your client, whether it's an in-house lawyer or whoever, so that you understand where they're coming from and what they want from you. But that's in any relationship. like even if you look at, husbands and wives or boyfriends and girlfriends and, any kind of relationship, you have to listen. You have to be able to understand what is it that your partner or your better half wants from you and needs from you. And so at the end of the day, clients and lawyers, we're not two separate individuals or two separate entities. We're all on the same team trying to make something happen, whether it's a transaction or. And actually, if I may, this is an analogy that I was told when I joined Yum. So in most restaurant companies, typically what you'll find is that like a McDonald's or a Subway or a KFC, they're what they call the franchisor. So they're the ones who own the brand, right? But in a lot of countries and a lot of places around the world, McDonald's parent company doesn't own the restaurant or operate the restaurant. It's franchised. It's given to, like, Shreya, you're my franchisee in India for KFC restaurants. And so you run, you operate, you do everything. I get a royalty from you on whatever revenues you make, and you pay me a fixed fee every time you open a new store. Those are the two ways I make my money. And so when I joined Yum, I was told by my HR colleague very early on, he said to me, he's like, look, franchisor, franchisee, so client, lawyer, for example, we're like husband and wife, okay? We will go through our ups and downs. We'll go through our fights, our disagreements, our good times, our bad times. But at the end of the day, the brand, so the KFC brand in that case, is the baby, okay? So we may go up and down, but as long as the baby's protected and the baby continues to grow and be nurtured and so on, then that's the key focus. So similarly with lawyers and clients, we will go through our ups and downs. We'll argue about fees. We'll argue about the fact that you didn't send me the document when you said you would, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the transaction or the deal or the case or whatever it is that we're both trying to make happen, that's the baby. So you have to make sure that that's protected, and that's the key focus, regardless of our personal or professional differences that may come up. So, yeah.
Great analogy and nicely put. Thank you so much for sharing. So the year you moved to Yum Brands, which is 2017, was the same year you founded Law Ninjas, which is a global platform now. But when it started in 2017, it was a social networking community of lawyers and law students. Tell us what has been the inspiration behind Law Ninjas, and also how has been your experience so far?
Law Ninjas, as you said, yeah. So when I moved in-house, I had no idea what it was like to be an in-house lawyer. So I did something that I like to do, which is set up WhatsApp groups for some reason. So I set up a WhatsApp group with a few of my in-house lawyer contacts and friends in Singapore and elsewhere, maybe like 10, 15 of us. And the idea or the sort of thinking behind it was that I'd be able to ask them questions about tax law, labor law, employment, or whatever it is, all these things that you're kind of meant to be good at as an in-house lawyer, but you don't really learn when you're at a law firm, unless you're a specialist in that area. And so I did that. But then what I saw and what my friends and contacts saw was that this was actually quite a good idea. I think a lot of in-house lawyers need this because you just have somebody to bounce ideas off or questions off, and you don't have to call up your law firm to ask that question because they obviously charge fees for it. So here you're getting free advice from somebody who's been through something quite similar or the same thing very recently. And so it kind of grew from there. And so now it's, as you said, it's not only a community or a social network of lawyers, law students, in-house and private practice lawyers, as well as law professors around the world, but it's also now a platform for training, coaching. We run free weekly webinars every so often. I said weekly, though I'm taking a break for the next couple of weeks and actually just taking a rest. But free webinars on different topics, on all the things that you don't learn at law school, but you need in order to be a successful lawyer. And also from lawyers who've kind of done it all, who've reached the general counsel kind of roles at their companies, and who now I think a lot of the lawyers I speak to, they want to mentor and coach students. They want to help give back. And so this is a platform for them also to be able to help others who are coming up in the profession. And so a lot of very enthusiastic law ninjas around the world are young law students, and I can see quite a few of them are dialed into this session right now, listening in as well. So for everyone who's a law ninja, thank you so much for the support since 2017, and this is just the beginning. It's going to continue to grow and keep. We're going to keep making things exciting.
Beautiful. You know, in-house roles and secondments, for that matter, have gained massive popularity amongst the law firm lawyers lately. Why do you think that is? And also, any words of wisdom for those who may be wanting to move in-house from a law firm role?
Yeah, so for me and for a lot of people, I think, who are in a law firm environment and who always look at kind of the greener side of the fence, greener grass, the in-house role, they say, oh, it's going to be easier in terms of work-life balance. It's going to be more interesting or whatever it is. I would say speak to as many in-house lawyers as you can, because again, like I said, going into a law firm is going to be very different to what you studied at law school, and then going in-house is going to be very different to what you think it's going to be, unless you have experienced it or you've spoken to somebody. And so a lot of the law ninjas workshops that are on the website, they are incredible insights into what it's actually like to be an in-house lawyer. And so I'd recommend anybody watches those. But I would say that, yeah, it's not an easy decision to take, because and not a lot of people know this, but I'm going to give you the exclusive piece of information. When I moved from my law firm job to my in-house job, I took a 40% pay cut. And pretty much everyone around me, including my family and my friends and colleagues and everybody, thought I was a little crazy, because it's a pretty big cut to take. Um, but there was some part of me where I kind of said to myself, no, I need to do this, because firstly, I wanted to go in-house. That was something I've been wanting to do for many years, and I just hadn't found the right opportunity or the most exciting opportunity. And then I'm a foodie, so going into a fast food company was like, a dream come true. And so I kind of said to myself, look, let me do this, right? If it works out, fantastic. I mean, awesome. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to the law firm life, right? I mean, there's nothing stopping me from going back. And so I think that's the mindset that people, we need to adopt sometimes is, we don't take risks sometimes thinking, oh, if I do this, then, that's it, I'm not going to be able to come back, or I would have made a wrong decision, and so I'll regret it. All these things, all these doubts and thoughts and fears come into our mind. But that's not how life works. I know so many people who've like gone in-house and then gone into the business like I did, or gone in-house and then realized actually I enjoyed law firm life, and they come back. Life is a long journey, and you're going to learn new things and see new things, and you might realize that you don't want to be a lawyer. You want to be a yoga instructor, which a couple of my lawyer friends have now done. So there's, I think one great thing about Gray Matter and DAREACT is, I think you explore the fact that a law degree, that 5-year journey, is not the be all and end all. It doesn't mean you even have to be a lawyer. 50% of my batch at law school are not lawyers anymore. They're all like, bankers, or they're doing other things. Like I said, yoga instructors. So you don't restrict yourself based on what you're doing at university or at school. It's a whole big world out there, and the world will keep changing. So, when I was at uni, there was no such thing as cryptocurrency, or, data privacy wasn't such a big thing, and AI was, nobody even knew what that was. Now these are the hot topics. So what I would say is, try, and if you're trying to figure out what to do or what area of law to go into, look at, what you're interested in, obviously, what you're good at, but also look at what are the next trends. Where can you create that little niche for yourself where you'll be able to stand out from the other millions of lawyers out there. And so for me personally, Law Ninjas is my way of creating a niche that I think needs to be filled, because I didn't see it being filled, at least in terms of that in-house community. But I would say that that's the thing. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. She's also excited about this session. So yeah, I would say that's the kind of key thing to keep in mind. Hopefully I answered the question. Sorry.
Pretty much, pretty much. Thank you for sharing that. That indeed is very insightful and brilliantly put. You apart from, of course, leading Law Ninjas, you are also simultaneously seconded as a senior legal counsel at a tier one bank in Australia. I'm just very curious. How do you manage your work time between these two ventures? Like, how do you make it happen?
It's not easy. And I think for anyone who's looking to, do a side hustle or something on the side, it's a big time commitment. It's a big commitment in terms of, because look, we all have limited time, right, in a day. We all have to sleep, we all have to eat, we all have to commute if we're not in lockdown. And so I work 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. as an in-house lawyer at one of the big Australian banks. And then as soon as 6:01 hits, I pull out my other laptop, which is my Law Ninjas laptop, and I start working there, which is why a lot of my workshops, not a lot, all of my workshops are always late night Sydney time, because firstly, it's post my normal job working hours, but also because then from a time zone perspective, the entire world can dial in. So although it's late nights for me, it's easier for people, I think, in India and Africa and North America to dial in. So to answer your question, yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's tough, but it's fun. I have a lot of fun doing it. And if you don't look, whatever it is that you're planning to do, whether it's a side hustle as a business or whether you're a TikTok queen or you're a, whatever it is, make sure that you're enjoying it. Make sure that you're having fun with it, because life's short, right? And I think one key thing that Law Ninjas is about giving back to the community. 10% of any profits we make will go towards funding scholarships for deserving law students around the world. I haven't made a profit yet, but it will get there soon. And so that's the kind of key thing, right? And so you need to figure out what it is that you're passionate about. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Don't do what all your friends are doing just because you think that's kind of what you're meant to do, or there's this herd mentality or this kind of FOMO that you get when you see everybody else writing journal articles and you're like, oh, I must write a journal article. In fact, I had a student yesterday who may or may not be listening in, who kind of said the same thing to me. He's like, I'm in my first year of law school and all my friends are writing journal articles about legal topics. I feel this anxiety within me because I'm not doing it. What should I do? And I said, look, if you like writing and if you have a good topic that you want to write about, then go for it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. But don't do it just for the sake of it or just because everybody else is doing it. What I would rather see you do is do something that you're keen and interested in. So, for example, you need to ask yourself, what are your strengths? If you're a speaker, if you like to, moot or speak in public or, something else that's not writing, then do that. Like, don't do something you're like half good at. Do something that you're really good at and make a name for yourself in it. Yeah, so I think that's quite key, because sometimes in our careers we tend to fall into jobs or practice areas that maybe are not the best fits for us. And I think it's quite key sometimes to take a step back and think about, there's this, and I've given this talk to a lot of law students around the world. So unfortunately, some of them who are listening in will be sort of worried that I'm just going to be repeating myself. But there's this Japanese concept called ikigai, which there've been books written about and all that. And essentially, just to summarize briefly, it essentially says that whatever you're trying to do in your career, your profession, your life, should ideally tick 4 boxes. So the first box you need to ask yourself is this something that you're actually passionate about? Is this something that gets you up in the morning, you're curious about, you want to learn more about? Second is this something the world actually needs? Is there a need for this thing that you're trying to do? Third question is this something that you're good at? Is it something that you have an aptitude for? And the fourth and final box is something you can be paid well for? Is it something you can sustain yourself on, pay your rent with, pay your Netflix subscription with? And so you need to figure out what it is that ticks those boxes for you, and then put your energy and time and effort into it. And I can guarantee that not only will you be successful and all of that, but you'll also have a good time doing it. And that's the main thing. Sorry, Shreya, I think I can't hear you.
Yeah, am I audible
Yeah.
now?
Yes. Yeah.
I was saying thank you for sharing that. And my last question to you is, what is the best way to reach to you, and also how can one be a part of the Law Ninjas community?
Thank you. So LinkedIn, by the way, I spoke about building relationships earlier. I think LinkedIn is a fantastic tool for anyone who, not only in the legal profession, but anyone around the world. I think do it. Like, join. If you don't have a LinkedIn account today, that's fine. But by the end of the week, I want you all to have LinkedIn accounts. I don't own any shares in LinkedIn, so no, full disclosure. But I would say reach out to me there. I'm very happy to hear from students and lawyers and other professionals, and I want to learn what challenges you're facing. I'd also, once you sort of add me and follow me, then you'll get to see all these webinars that we keep running, and I've got a few interesting ones coming up that I haven't advertised yet, but you'll see them soon, and they're all free, as I said. And then go to the website, which is lawninjas.co, so co, and you can sign up there, and then I'll add you to the community, and you can network with the lawyers and law students everywhere. I think at the end of the day, look, you have to figure out for yourself what kind of lawyer you want to be. Do you just want to be a lawyer who drafts documents and who does the deals and everything, and is in it for whatever it is, money or prestige or power? Or do you want to be somebody who is learning, who is constantly growing, who is constantly expanding their reach and building relationships? Like yesterday we had a catch-up call. So within the ninjas we have these calls sometimes, and we had lawyers from Singapore, India, and Mexico on the call, which I thought was very cool. And so the world is only as big as you want it to be. So I would encourage everyone, regardless of where you are or how old you are, what you do, is always adopt this growth mindset, always adopt an open mind, and you will surprise yourself, and you will really, really succeed. And, like I said, when I took that role at Yum, I took a 40% pay cut, and everybody said to me that I was crazy. I think, look, yes, maybe I was a bit crazy, but I was following what I wanted to do in terms of my passion. And I was confident that success and money and all those other things that we worry about a bit too much, that will come. Okay. So you just need to figure out what it is that you want to do and then do it. And then if it doesn't work out, fine. You can always go back, or you can always do something different. But if it works out, then that's going to be amazing for you. And that's super, super important and super crucial, I think, for anybody.
I feel one has to be a little crazy. You have to be. You have to be to try it out, even to fail perhaps. There's no going back from failing. You fail, you move ahead. So it's okay to be a little crazy, and that's the fun, right? Have fun with your craziness. Well, that brings us to the end of this chat. Thank you so much, Rohan, for sparing your Friday evening and spending it with the Grey Matter and our lovely audience. We thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and we hope you had a good time too.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Shreya, and the Grey Matter team. And actually, if I may say one sort of final thing, is that, my mom always says, and I'll say it in Hindi and then I'll translate in English. She always says to me, she says, "Darna nahi hai." So don't be afraid. Okay. Whatever it is that you do, whether it's your career or your relationships or your life or whatever, just lead with your heart, lead with humility, be proud of who you are and what you've achieved so far in your career and your life. Forget, your pride, put aside your fears, and you will amaze yourself. And so, yeah, but I'm just really, really grateful for this opportunity, and thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
I did lots of insights for me as well. So thank you, and have a lovely weekend. And thank you everyone for joining in live today.
Take care. Stay safe. Bye.